Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinker, and I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As a reminder to all the listeners, besides being all your favorite podcast platforms, Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube. Each show segment available. Head on over and check us out. Like, subscribe, share. We'd appreciate it all. Cody's on assignment again today, so it's just myself and Drink. What's going on, brother?
Let's talk some sports, baby. You know what it is. Hey, look here. Well, another beautiful Saturday on the Drink of Wisdom show, And let's get into it. You know what I'm saying? We see what they don't and say what they want. Let's roll, baby.
We absolutely do. Let's do it. In episode 31, the Jazz keep rolling. Luka's frustration mounts, and the Deshaun Watson thing. Yeah, we've got that covered from every angle. But we begin with the Bucks Pelicans last night, in which Pelicans led by upwards of 30 points throughout that game. Bucks made a little run late. They ended up making it somewhat respectable, but it didn't wind up being enough. Pelicans win their second straight, led by Brandon Ingram's big night. But they also got big nights from Lonzo Ball and Eric Bledsoe from the perimeter. The Bucks led by 38 points from Giannis. They're 11-7 at the moment. Pelicans 7-10. All right, Drink, break this down. What happened in this one?
Well, I think you said it best. Here's the deal. We had some guys that was on the back of milk cartons that actually, showed up last night. Your boy won, Eric Bledsoe, by far was the first candidate where I said, oh, okay. This is quite interesting. And then, Brandon Ingram is to me, I know a lot of people like Zion. I think Brandon Ingram is the alpha on this team. I think he's the number one. He has shown to be dependable when you need him. I've been the first and foremost to tell people when it went down, how it went down in LA, Brandon Ingram should have been the player that stayed, not called Kuzma, whatever. Now we see, in the future why. But last night was one of those games for the Bucks where you say when Bogdanovic didn't make it to the team when he ended up signing with the Hawks, I thought last night was like one of those glaring games where you was like they could have used some more shooting last night. Because Giannis, for whatever reason, Giannis is just not. He's not looking like the two-time MVP. He's not looking like the guy that was on the trajectory to be one of the best to ever do it. He just don't look like the same guy right now. I don't know if it's the free throw shooting. I don't know if it's just people that caught on to the better way to defend him because you're not going to shut him down. He's too athletic. His skill set is too elite to shut him down. But I think the way teams are playing him is pretty effective. You think about this. Last year, the year before, how many times would you turn on the TV and Giannis to drop 35 or he drop 40 and he make it look effortless because he can take 2 steps from half court to the rim and there ain't nothing anybody can do about it. Don't matter how good of defense you was playing, it was just very hard to stop him. This year, as I looked at him last night, yeah, he ain't looking at his box office. And I'm not saying it's totally on him why he's not looking like that. Maybe Budenholzer not putting him in the right spots. Maybe, I don't know. But what I do know is this. You went out there and you got smoke checked by the Pelicans, and we were still trying to figure out what the hell the Pelicans are doing. Like, how they going to piece this together. When you got Eric Bledsoe, when you got Eric Bledsoe out here, that's a pun, and I know people that follow Bledsoe. But when you got Eric Bledsoe out here, looking like not only will he be all defensive player, he might just make enough shots to be considered for an all-star. That's not it. That's not it, Milwaukee. I'm sorry. Now, as I broke down the end of the game scoring, I know Bledsoe was in the 20s, Ingram was in the 20s, Zion was in the 20s, and then Lonzo. Now, Lonzo, the problem with Lonzo is he took a lot of shots. In the first quarter, like not even the first quarter, probably the first 7 minutes of action, Lonzo had put up about 7 or 8 shots already. I don't know if that's a recipe for winning, but props to the man being aggressive, but I don't think you're gonna be able to maintain it. Lonzo can't be taking that many shots to open the game. If it's anybody that should be taking those shots, it's Brandon Ingram. If you're not gonna let JJ Redick shoot, then it should be Brandon Ingram. I don't understand why Lonzo was taking so many shots. Either way, to get to this segment, I think the Pelicans, if they can maintain what they did, I think that's a pretty decent recipe. Because you have Adams, and I like this is something that they did last night that I thought was very smart. They knew they was playing the Milwaukee Bucks, which is usually a tall team. Usually when you got Giannis and Lopez, and then you throw in another body in there, you're gonna have problems shooting over that length. We know Zion is probably gonna be the smallest five in most games that he plays. I mean, the only other guy that I can say right off the top of my head that he might not be as small is Montrezl Harrell of the Lakers. Everybody else, for the most part, he's going to be smaller than that five of that team usually. And what I like what New Orleans did is now they got him playing majority of the four, and Steven Adams plays the five. Now, when Steven Adams is out of the game, of course, Zion is considered the five, but when they do that little 4-5 matchup, it's good because Steven Adams knows who Steven Adams is. He ain't out here trying to put up 30 and all that. No. He's going to rebound. He's going to play defense, and he's going to give you that body in the five slot that you need, that toughness. That allows Zion to do what Zion do. So I like what New Orleans had going on with that. I thought that was good, and I thought that gave Milwaukee problems with their size, like I said. But at the end of the day, not to drag this out, I like what I've seen with the Pelicans. I just don't know if it's real. I don't know if we can take a whole lot from it. Give me another, month sample of this, and then I might have a different opinion on this. And as far as Milwaukee go, I don't know what's going on there, but they don't seem to have that spark that we're used to them having in the last 2 to 3 years. They used to pop. Even with your boy Bledsoe, as much as we give them crap about how Bledsoe wasn't playing so well, they still, to me, had some type of spark. You even got, the crazy thing is, you got Middleton playing better this year. You actually getting the productivity you want out of Middleton, and still it's just kind of flat. It's like, man, I left my drink out all night, and it just lost all this. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but when I watch them, I just don't get the same enthusiasm and excitement out of the Bucks. So I don't know. Maybe you got something better for the listeners and the watchers, but overall, I think the Bucks got to find something, some type of motivation, something to give them their juice back. And I hope the Pelicans can maintain what we seen last night. That will bode well for their future.
I think your assessment right there of the Bucks and I think there is some stagnation that is taking place right now. I think that the last 2 seasons they've pretty much been the best team regular season wise, pretty much wire to wire. And this season it does seem a little flat. It does seem stagnant, and the overall lack of energy that I'm seeing is concerning right now. Even though they're 11-7, they're in pretty good position. But I think we all believe that this is still a team that we got to see this team in the finals at some point. We got to see Giannis in the finals, and I think it's similar to what we kind of nailed down last year. Is there's nobody on this team nobody like that's playing big time minutes that brings that extra energy outside of Giannis. And I think we all agree that you need that alpha mentality, that Marcus Morris, that Marcus Smart, who can come in here and light a fire on a guy and give energy. A Montrezl Harrell, you throw him in there as well. I think Bobby Portis might be that guy, that can provide that toughness and that energy. And I think, I think he's a guy I've liked for a long time, even back to his days at Arkansas, I believe it was. I don't think he got a whole lot of minutes last night, but I think he's a guy that can be a factor for them. But it may take is maybe you talk about that Bogdanovich trade that ultimately ended up falling through, and that may be a big deal. I think some of the depth that they were able to keep, I think that's good for them because they were gonna stand to lose DiVincenzo and a couple other guys, I believe. But it may take another in-season move to provide that extra life and that jolt of energy, because they just look like a team that Right now, they look like they've peaked. And one thing is absolutely certain: they've forgotten how to defend. You talked about before the shutdown in March or whatever. Like, after we came back to the bubble time, they completely forgot how to defend, and they just don't. And it's the book on Milwaukee for the last couple of years, especially since Brook Lopez is in the middle, is they'll give up threes, but they'll make sure that you don't get anything easy in the paint. So it's pretty much if it's a live and die by the three mechanic. Now it's just they give up buckets everywhere. They still can't guard the three, and even inside the paint, they're not all that proficient at stopping anything in there. And then, of course, last night was a perfect storm because the Pelicans just went bonkers from three. I believe they tied a franchise record of 21 threes. They were 8 for 13 at the start. I believe in the second and third quarters, the deficit was upwards of 30 points. Milwaukee made a late push in the third. I believe they went on a 23 run. When they made it 9 with like a minute or so to go in the third, it looked like they had a chance. But the Pelicans, they scored the last 5 of the third, and they ended up pushing that lead out. It's Pelican, the Bucks, just it's something they do from time to time. They just don't look prepared, and they come out flat. And anytime you do that, you risk getting embarrassed. This is something that we talked about in the bubble last year. This is something we talked about in the first round of playoffs when Orlando just put the smackdown on them in the first game of that first round series. At some point you're not as good as you think you are. Some of it may be, we have the MVP, we have an all-star, we have Holiday, we have Lopez. They got all the talent in the world. That still remains. But you got to come out there with the right attitude and focus. And that seems to be lacking far too often. And that has to get turned around. And Mike Budenholzer has got to fix that. In addition to, some of the defensive things and some of that effort, you give up this many threes. I mean, it's just inexcusable for a team, of this caliber. For the Pelicans, we talk about things, I think you tried to, sucker me into a bet a couple weeks ago. I got one for you right now, and I know you won't take it. Eric Bledsoe and Lonzo Ball combined to go 14 for 27 from three last night. That's not happening again this year. Those two will not, for the rest of this season, make that many threes at that level of efficiency. I'm here. I'll bet whatever on that right now. But the concerning thing, I think, if you're New Orleans, because this was a whale of a performance. But in the end, when you look at it, that's got to be a career high for both of them from that distance. It took career high performances from, predominantly two non-shooters to ultimately just, squeak you across the finish line. So I'm still a little uncertain on the Pelicans and ultimately what they'll be. They don't really defend all that much either. I think I think Stan Van Gundy pointed out, for the first half and, into the third, they defended well, but then the Bucks just all of a sudden got hot and they couldn't. And once they got hot, they couldn't put out that fire. But I'm just a little, the Pelicans, I don't know how much different they are from last season. I think now I think their shooting overall was a concern. Now you've got even less shooting because Redick wasn't in there. And I don't know if he's, in their plans as we progress. Really, I think it's Josh Hart can shoot. Of course, we know Ingram. Ingram can score from anywhere. He's just not what I would say. He's a first-class shooter, but he can do that. But your two guards out there, this isn't their game. Lonzo Ball can't shoot, despite what we saw from him last night. That's just not his track record. Eric Bledsoe, his track record isn't all that impressive either. Although for this season, you got to give him credit. He has shot the ball well. He's about 41% from three, but is that sustainable? This is a real good start, but he has a tendency to not be able to shoot. So it took this much of this bigger performance to get this win, which is a great win. But I don't think we ever thought that this team would struggle scoring. But both teams had the same issue last night. 131 points and 126 points. Both teams have to, fix some things defensively. And the Pelicans, it's an uphill climb, even though, we're only about a quarter of the way through the season because they're still second to last place in the Western Conference. So they gotta get hot, and they gotta get hot quickly. Obviously, both teams, with pretty much the point guard swap with, Holiday being a Buck, Bledsoe being a Pelican. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I think both teams have some concerns right now, and I don't think this for the Bucks, this level of performance isn't sustainable if they want to make an NBA Finals run. And obviously the Pelicans, they need more of this or something close to this, or they won't be in the playoffs again either, and will be, it'll be another disappointing early for Zion. Oh, by the way, one final point. When I start off the lead in, we're talking about Ingram, Ball, and Bledsoe. That is impressive by itself, because I didn't even get to Zion, he was pretty good last night. But I do agree with you, and it's almost a similar thing back to, I think, the Duke days. Zion was clearly the best player and the most phenom and got all the highlights. But RJ Barrett, I always thought, was kind of the key and would be the last type of shot type guy. I think it's the same situation here in New Orleans.